All right. So I it appears I have caused some controversy. It appears I have made people upset. I found this randomly on a board game geek group that's on Facebook, and the guy was like, "Oh, it's funny, haha, nothing to it, right?" And it's like just this visual of BattleTech being thrown away so casually, framed under the banner of go to Reddit ECK about Dr. Banzai going to a Brian Young story. It's call it that time I was born in idiocracy. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Um, so, anyways, I found this and I posted it, and if for some reason it just this is just the entire look of this put me in the mind of the Mona Lisa, right? Like this is just incredible to see that just these staff, these housekeepers throwing this shit away. And as I understand it, what this is they're actually setting up demo tables for the con for Gen Con. So these are just the empty boxes. Now these are the what are these? These are the I have it on my shelf right here. Let me see if I yeah. So this is the Bounce Tech Essentials one, the one that was released at Target, the one with Yinlo Wong and the Rifleman Ghost Legend Killer. So apparently they just gutted the boxes and threw them out. And I guess my question would be like, I guess for me it's like, why wouldn't? So apparently they're doing this because these particular boxes didn't sell very particularly well, so they're just breaking them up. So I guess my question would be like, why not just bring a bunch more of them, and then set it up on a table and leave each person to take what they want from the box, so you're not having to create all this additional paper waste. This for me, that would make sense, but people are upsetty spaghetti. Now this gentleman here, yeah, very uneven for two players close range ball. Yeah, yep. Yeah. But this guy actually popped up and he's like, hey, I'm here at Gen Con. Those boxes weren't empty. Inside there was a prize pool. Okay, fine. It was a prize pool. So this is a nice response. And I replied to him. I'm like, hey, thanks for letting me know. And then, much to my dismay, they bombed. Sorry, 1 second here. My PC just gave me a notification saying it's going to restart in 5 minutes. So that'll be interesting if that actually happens. So this guy was just trying to give like an honest response, and I appreciate that. So like I, was very nice to him, but people are just like dog piling him. I feel bad. And then let's see, where does the this is interesting too, because this gentleman jumped in. There's a great YouTube channel called Northern Exile. It's a former GW manager, and basically he talks about hobby nightmares within the Games Workshop hobby. One such story he describes talking to upper management, and they were discussing what to do if somebody steals a box of miniatures from the Games Workshop store. Upper management asked him a question: which do you think costs more to manufacture, the miniatures or the box they come in? The miniatures come in. The miniatures? Nope. There you go. So for me, that's for me that's like, yeah, it's a way cheaper than the actual miniatures that get manufactured. Their price per unit to make those, and the overhead to make those is like so ridiculously cheap, especially since they're using a factory over in China that can get away with paying the workers pennies on the dollar. Cool Tactic 8269. Catalyst having the license for Shadowrun right now is a real black pill. Here's the thing, Cool Tactic. they didn't take away your old books. So if you still have those old books, they're still good. So you can safely play in the past and treat anything Catalyst does going forward as kind of like a. Sorry, give me 1 second here. This thing is. I'm gonna prevent my schedule restart. Sir, schedule that. There we go. All right. Schedule that for midnight because I'm not going to be using it. So, anyways, the way that Shadowrun is in the current state that it is in, as far as I can tell, I've never been a Shadowrun player, but the one thing that I've consistently heard is that the latest editions of Shadowrun are bad. They're not any good. The mechanics are bad. They're mechanically unsound. The good thing about that box that comes with Steiner Stadium, it does. It's a really good box. It was a good bargain. It was $25 for the BattleTech Essential, or I think $20. Old stuff that I know. I'd like to have a future. I would like that. The way you feel about Shadowrun Cool Tactic is the way I feel about BattleTech. And that's a really tough pill for me personally to swallow, because I do love BattleTech so much. I have invested so much time and love in this hobby, and I'm just not a fan of where Catalyst is taking the direction. Been inspired by a little free library and starting a mech swap. I have that many archers. Yeah. Hey, it's not a bit, horse trading is, especially with this business model of Catalyst having right now, where it's kind of like they're treating the mechs like Pokemon, like you buy a Lance pack to get the one mech that you want, and then you have these 4 others that you don't have anything to do with, have anything to put them or someplace to put them. I feel like their current business model encourages that horse trading. But yeah, no, that's absolutely. So people were mad. We have this one guy, Steve Sadik. Me and Bill built their table for Gen Con 2007. By then, the shenanigans had already begun, according to Bill. Post some related story or two, but suffice to say, Bill had to threaten to destroy it before they paid the agreed upon sum. The drop ships can be found in the back cover of the StratOps manual. That's crazy. That's funny. So, from the local stores that I've talked to here in the state that I'm in, not good. I actually went into one store and I was just, kind of browsing, kind of window shopping, and I saw a copy of BattleTech Gothic and had a thick shell of dust on it. It was like nobody was even touching it to pick it up to look at it. So I've heard from a couple of other people online that their stores are much in the same way. So it's kind of depressing that the Gothic has taken so much momentum away from BattleTech. So basically, the CGL stands started trying to bail water. Let me see, because there was a funny post here. Anthony Scroggins jumps in my page every once in a while, just to call me. Yeah, here we go, Anthony Scroggins. Let me see if I can. There we go. You're really funny when you grasp for straws, but I do appreciate you posting pictures of our success. And I said, Anthony Scroggins, success, molding from your Gen Con hotel. Additional, is success being part of a company stuck on a Kickstarter treadmill? And then this gentleman follows up, you're constantly grasping at straws here. It's like you don't know what you're talking about. So I said, I don't pull up their Kickstarter pages. No update on any since May, and the comments are brutal. So since we're talking about that, Kickstarter. Let's see. All right, so Frostpunk, no updates since May. Let's see. Let's go Catalyst. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. So keep in mind that all of these, yeah, no updates since May, after they said they're going to do monthly updates. Voltron, no updates since May. I didn't even know about this one. Somebody had to actually bring this to my attention. Updates. Oh, they actually updated something back in June. So, yeah. So, but yeah. So for people who are like, oh, Catalyst is in perfect health. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like sure thing, dude. Whatever you say, man. Just make art and shut it. Brave words considering your business model is Kickstarter hosted Ponzi schemes, but to each their own, I guess. Did Lauren promise you an hour on his porch or something to come there? Yeah, that's funny. It's what's even funnier is they'll call you crazy, they'll call you names, they'll call you chud, incel, whatever, but they never say you're wrong. I thought this was pretty funny. Kick ass. Kickstarter's out the ass. It's actually that's very on point. So yeah, so this reason to take shots at CGL as they wipe their tears of laughter from their eyes, and then yes, indeed, tears of laughter. This is really strange. And then this individual, she's like, play the top, then go to the virtual pause to get in the cockpit. I had an arcade that was like one town over back when arcades were actually a thing, and I don't know if it was like it definitely wasn't like a pod, right? It was like kind of like an open backed simulator. Like you had a chair, and then you had a joystick and a throttle, and I want to say pedals, maybe. Let's see, Battletech arcade machine. They removed Gothic from the web store. I remember it being at the shop when they were asking people if they wanted pre-orders at the same time as the other box. Good Lord. Not more popular than the other. Yeah, for real. Where is that game? I want to see if I can find this. Was this it? No, that's not it. Damn it. It definitely wasn't this one. I know for sure that it wasn't this one. It was something very similar though. It was like, I want to say it was like open backed, and then this. Oh no, that's Steel Battalion. That's not it. I swear, I'm not hallucinating. It wasn't like a full blown like close up pod like this, like the ones they have at Gen Con. It's I can't remember what it looked like, or my Google foo is weak right now. But yeah, I remember playing that and losing a lot of fucking quarters. In that for some reason I was terrible at it, but I was okay at. I was okay at MechWarrior 4 Vengeance because that's what I played back when I had PC at home back then. Gambit Raven, Mandela Effect. Yeah, right. So yeah, I posted this, and people are real up in their the Catalyst nerds are real up in their feelings like that, and the fact that I got Anthony Scroggin to rage post from his Gen Con hotel room, assuming he's a Gen Con, because why wouldn't he be? It's, you know what's funny? I have never had, between Russell Zimmerman, Anthony Scroggins, and Brian Young, I've made fun of Games Workshop plenty. Like, I've made fun of other game companies plenty. It's really interesting that those companies have never come into my comments to call me a liar, to call me names, to insult me personally. So I think that's really interesting, and I think that's a curious statistic, is that so far Catalyst are the only people that are openly hostile towards me, out of all the game companies that I take swipes at, sometimes in jest, sometimes in seriousness. So it's very amusing. And then I saw this. This actually came across my timeline. Somebody was talking about it because I had mentioned on a Discord that I'm in. I had mentioned kind of tangentially, like, hey, you know, I was talking about StarCraft, and they were like, oh yeah, the guy that was in charge of Archon Studios, he took the money and ran with it from a Kickstarter, and this customer, or this they ran like a second Kickstarter to kind of like backfill a loss that they were taking on this other Kickstarter. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. Oh yeah, no, Gambit Raven. It's not. I wouldn't even say that's a right-wing loony thing. One of the things I've noticed, the older I get, is that most of the people in the creative departments of those companies, they're artists, right? So they're very liberal and very free, and it's fine. I've known artists. I know a couple of 3D modelers that are actually incredible artists, and they're trans and whatever, and you know what, they're fine. They're just humans, right? They have their beliefs, and they don't let that shit bleed into their work, because I think, like Michael Jordan said, Republicans buy sneakers too, right? So it's like there's no point in there's no point in trying to alienate half your audience. Oh, that was you, Gavin? You had blue hair? Well, sometimes we all make mistakes. I shouldn't tell this. Fuck it. When I was a sophomore or a junior in high school, I can't remember which, I wore my hair spiked and I got my tips frosted. Wow. Normally, I used to think that nobody could waterboard that information out of me, but thankfully this was pre-digital, and I have there exists no photos online of me with frosted tips. So thank God for small mercies. And this shit was disgusting. Yeah. Bluebeard mask didn't work well like I was. That's pretty good. Oh, that's really good. Oh man, that's funny. So I came across this really good documentary, and if you guys want to watch it, it's on I linked it on my Facebook page. It's actually really fun thing. It's about an hour long. It's a little bit longer watch, but if you're in the middle of something, it's not that bad. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was very informative, and how a lot of that nuance gets lost. So listen, ICP Wicked Clones Never Die. Nice. There's a hot community. That's the one I was telling you about yesterday. Oh, Mookie Dog, black hair. Yeah, yeah. We all made mistakes back in the day. We all we all did bad things with our hair because the thing about hair is it always grows back. Ah, damn good water. Hey, William. So we just got finished talking about the CGL stands being upsetty spaghetti about an image I posted. It kind of sucks. I kind of wanted to. It kind of sucks because I wanted to kind of do a. I wanted to do kind of like a ghost, not ghost dog. God, this book is infecting my brain. I wanted to do like a Gen Con roundup, so I think I might do like a special stream, maybe Saturday. I'm not sure. Just to go over any news, because usually what happens is you get you get a bunch of news from various different manufacturers. Usually Friday night, sometimes Saturday, or they'll do it Friday night and then they'll have stuff on the con floor for Saturday, like when you go by their booth. So it just kind of depends. Perfection of the fro. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we were talking a little bit about this image that I shared, and this made people upsetty spaghetti. The context for this is that basically Catalyst, what they did is they took all the contents out of these boxes, so you just had like the upper and lower half of the clamshell, and they used the materials inside for their demo tables. So, but just like the for some reason this image just stuck with me because it's these people. They don't know what this is. They don't know what the fuck these nerds are doing. They're just throwing this shit away, and it's all just BattleTech, 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 right under the Catalyst Game Labs logo, and it's just, it's like the fucking Mona Lisa. I love it. All right. Well, these chapters were kind of a do nothing. There was really nothing like terribly offensive or bad about them. Because we had, so the rhythm of this book, as far as I can establish, is that something happens and then it kind of goes into a trough where people are, and that's usually, that trough is usually where some of the worst shit is, and then it starts to like the action increases, and then it goes back, and then like it actually becomes like an acceptable-ish level of writing, and then it dips back into the trough again, because it's like the interpersonal communication between everybody, in whenever two characters are interacting with one another, those interactions fucking blow. Like, he does not know how human beings speak. He doesn't know how they interact. He doesn't know how to write human dialogue. And when he does write it, it's very female coded. Everybody's very conflict avoidant. There's nobody that's there's nobody that whatchamacallit, that's like very assertive. You know, the Hank Mallory character, the main character, he is very like, oh geez, would you do this thing that I asked you to? It's like, instead of like giving people orders, it's like he's more like he's making requests, and it feels like he's like a side character in his own story, because he's definitely not pushing the action forward. The only person that's actually pushing the action forward is this Tom Frost character, who is just, the way he's described. And then somebody blew my mind. Somebody said, hey, read the description of Tom Frost and then take a look at a picture of Brian Young. And I'm like, do I have to do the second part? And he says, yes, it's critical for you to understand who this character is. And the way he described Tom Frost is the way he looks. So Tom Frost is indeed an author insert, and it is hilariously bad. So just picture, like, if you've seen like a picture of Brian Young, most people don't go out of their Oh, Mookie Dog, he absolutely did. It's like, if you see a picture of him and then you read the description of this character, it's like to a fucking T. Down to the fact that he plays guitar. I guess Brian Young, like in his bio, says he plays guitar with his one of his kids, and this Tom Frost character actually plays guitar, and he's a ghoul about it. So, all right, so once more into the breach. So, like I do with every one of these streams, I try to summarize the book up until this point, so that anybody that's new or anybody that's returning kind of gets a refresher. So, the prologue is Calendar Kell, who is now in charge of the Kellhounds. She goes to Timkovichi. She meets Brian Young, old Tom Frost, who is writing music in a destroyed city, like the ghoul that he is. And he's like, hey, are you going to liberate the planet? And she goes, lol, no. Drops off a monument to the slain and leaves, despite the fact that she brought enough firepower to deal with the Jade Falcons that were on the planet at the time. She just decided not to. So the next chapter, she sees Colonel Mallory, who's in charge of the Ghost Dogs, who are basically a splinter of the Kellhounds 2nd Battalion, who basically were told, hey, go stop using Kellhound colors, stop using Kellhound colors, stop using our logo, go to ground, because if the Jade Falcons catch wind that you're Kellhound, they'll probably try to kill you and everybody around you just to be safe. So they adopted these colors as the Ghost Dogs. And they've just been kind of working their way through minor contracts, waiting for basically the recall order from Calendar Kell. Michael Crichton does self-inserts, but he also wrote Jurassic Park and Westworld. Yeah, so we're talking about we're talking about Brian Young, who wrote Ghosts of Timkovichi, and then Michael fucking Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park. So it's like that's a gigantic gap in skill of people that we're talking about. So anyways, the next chapter sees Colonel Mallory, who is trying to herd megafauna into a cave network where the holdout Jade Falcons are, to try to flush them out, as opposed to just dynamiting the cave system and then waiting outside their bolt hole, which they knew about because reasons. So they capture these 3 Sib cadets. They're just kind of like the only people left on the planet from the Jade Falcons that were harassing this pharmaceutical company that the Ghost Dogs were working for. Then they get a recall. They get the recall message from Calendar Kell. They show up on Ark Royal, and Calendar Kell basically says, hey, I need you to go liberate Timkovichi. I could have done it, but I didn't want to. That's basically what it boils down to. It's like, I could have done that at any time in the recent past, but I just fucking didn't wanna. So they basically said, hey, kick the Jade Falcons off, kick the Lyrans off, let them determine their own fate, whether it joins the Ark Royal Defense Coalition or not. So it's like, okay, we'll do that. Then Calendar says, oh, by the way, Hank, here's your son Keith, that you haven't talked to in 10 years. I'm going to make him go. He wants to go with you. Okay, cool. You're going to send his mech with him, right? And Calendar Kell goes, lol, no. And it's never explained why. So after reuniting with the son, Hank starts to act very feminine. He's trying to avoid him. He's conflict avoidant. He doesn't want to talk to him. He doesn't want to take accountability for the things that he may or may not have done, which are all perfect traits for a mercenary company that's about to go into intense combat. You really want that in a commanding officer. So halfway to the planet, they find out that the Steiners are already moving in on Timkovichi, and the Jade Falcons are already on station, that are already on the planet. Want to kick the Steiners off, and of course the Steiners want to keep it for themselves, right? So, all that's well and good, but all that's well and good. So that gives them 9 days to plan. So they land on the planet, and they don't have a plan. They just didn't want to think that far ahead. So they just... Speaking of in-universe companies in Battletech Universe book, they make companies that focus around the Dark Age. I do like the Dark Age. I started playing Battletech as properly as a tabletop war game during the Dark Age era with the Mech Warrior Dark Age clicks, but we'll save that for another stream. So anyways, so basically chapters 9 through 11 are terribly written fighting with no regard to tactics or anything that a player of Battletech might actually recognize as a coherent action, right? We did get to meet in chapter 12 Nighthawk's the man, the myth, the legend, old Tom Frost. He's been absent for a whole fucking 12 chapters, and I just cannot get enough of this asshole. Basically, they spend the entire chapter called Nighthawks engaging in food and coffee ritual, which is this very millennial, and some people have said Gen X, but it's, Gen X millennial coded, like, they're doing an expedition dump, but they're eating, and the book is writing about how good the food is and how good the coffee is, and and it's like, bro, shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a shit. So the kicker is that chapter 12 turns out that old Tom Frost is the spider in the web of this whole, trying to get the Steiners and the Lyrans rather, and the Falcons off planet. And then we find out that there's a resistance on the planet. This is the first time we've heard of any sort of organized resistance against the Jade Falcons or the Steiners. Granted, the Steiners is a recent development, but this is the first time that we've even established that there's anything close to a resistance on this planet, because it was never brought up before chapter fucking 12. And then, so chapter 12 to 14 is basically this back and forth of these guys drinking coffee, eating food, talking about food, thinking about the food, learning stuff about, the food and the factions on the planet at play. So Mallory and his mech warriors are given information to contact this resistance, which is, like I said, again, first time we've heard about these people. Mallory takes the clanner Chingmai and his son Keith to scope out the Falcon presence, and then sends his other mech warriors and the other two clanners to other cities across the planet. This clandestine, you can't see it, but I'm doing the air quotes, task basically means they wander around saying, hey, we're looking for the resistance. You seen them? Eventually they meet some people, find out there's more Falcons than he initially thought, there's more Lyrans than they initially thought, and it's actually kind of like, it's like a nothing burger set of chapters. And then we lead on to chapter 15, Stained with Blood and Whiskey, which has a title that has more edge than a pizza cutter. Chapter 15 is Brian Young trying to write Roadhouse, but it's as if he's trying to write Roadhouse while mid-stroke having a brain aneurysm. So two of the other mech warriors, they get sent to this place to find these kind of mercenaries, these other mercenaries that may or may not be working for the Lyrans, called the Agile Rabbits. They're called something in French, but I don't speak Pig Latin. So through Rufo being wily and rizzing up the 667 twinkish bar, they found out that this mercenary unit is working for the Lyrans, and he basically got an in with this individual who has no gender. Like, damn, dude. I'm surprised he had the restraint to wait till chapter 16 or chapter 15 to actually drop the nonsense on us. Like, I admire that level of restraint. You know, we're probably like a third of the way into the book, and he finally caved on that. And then chapter 16 is basically an admin chapter where Mallory and his and company figure out what to do next. You know, kind of insofar as that these people ever fucking plan anything. And then chapter 17, Mech Warrior Coot, the head Jade Falcon on Timkovichi, is forcing back a raid, in air quotes, by the, in air quotes, Lyrans. It's a ruse, basically repainted Ghost Dog mechs to allow Chingmai to defect, in air quotes. So she gets an in with the clanners, with the Jade Falcons. So that's kind of where the book is left off. Gavin, you know what's actually kind of funny? The Jade Falcons are actually the guy, the Mech Warrior Coot, Coote. Hopefully, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I don't care at this juncture. He's actually shown a lot of restraint, and he actually seems to have a good head on his shoulders. But he's also kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, where he's like, if I bail on this planet to go chase the Falcons to Terra, I'm gonna, and Malvina Hazen is still alive, she's gonna kill me. If I stay here and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, she's going to kill me when she gets back. So effectively, he and basically a star of other clan mech warriors, they're stuck, basically holed up in a city. So the next thing we come to, chapter 18, Just Make It Rain. And we get introduced to a General Aletha Hellgate of the Lyran Commonwealth. And she is no detail is spared with describing this character being kind of this lazy, indolent social general. Take him to the whipping pole, but not too hard because he's a pretty cool dude. Thank you. The Dark Age. I have a soft spot for the Dark Age. There was a lot of terrible books in that run of novels, but there were some pretty good bangers. So it's a mixed bag for me, and of course the Clicks game was terrible. But anyways, back on topic. So again, Brian Young is indulging in his food literary porn, where he's talking about she's got pate and caviar, and she's meditating by the fire while she's stuffing her fat face. I'm assuming she's fat. She sounds fat in my head. She doesn't actually describe her at all. I'm just like, damn, this bitch be fat. So, anywho, she left instructions not to be disturbed, and then of course her major domo named Richter is I gotta admire Brian Young's utter hackery for going like, oh, the merciless Lyran general, her last name's Hellgate, and her Nazi coded second lieutenants, second person, 2IC, her last name is Richter. I wonder if that's a Richter Belmont reference from fucking, oh god, I was just watching something about this the other day. What's that called? Oh, Castlevania. I wonder if that's a Richter reference from Castlevania. I don't know, probably is, because there's not an original thought ricocheting around in his Modern Social General. There you go. Yep. So they basically talk about like, hey, what's going on? Is it the Falcons? Yeah, we think it's the Falcons. Of course, it's not the Falcons. It's probably going to be the Ghost Dogs. So she jumps into her Griffin, and they start running, running towards the quote unquote Jade Falcons. And there's a huge, basically what like ends up being like a giant like flak tower, for lack of a better term. Like if you've ever seen like the pictures of the Berlin flak towers, that's kind of what I'm picturing in my head. So they have on top of this giant tower, they have a bunch of AA and artillery and this, that, and the other thing. So she's waiting for these guys to kind of close in, and instead the Jade Falcons, the quote unquote Jade Falcons, they book it. They just leave. So she's like, huh, all right, well, we'll chase them. We'll chase them for a little bit, see what happens. And then all of a sudden, this tower explodes somehow. This giant, tower that has artillery and AA, presumably a lot of infantry and people, and it just mysteriously explodes from the inside. So that's not getting explained. Nope. Not even once explained. Oh man. Jeez, yeah, these chapters were like left no impression on me. I've got like almost usually these chapters are like highlighted, they're like solid green from the fucking highlighter I use, but they're just so like, who gives a shit? Like, damn, there's just no meat here. I also have a soft spot for the Dark Age. Yes, Clicky Tech was horrible. They had forced turn limits because you can have a game turn into an infinite standstill. Yeah. God, it's a lot of. I'll tell a story. So it's tangentially BattleTech related. So there was a day I was home from community college. I think it was community college. I didn't have work. I didn't have work. I didn't have anything going on, and my brother and his friend came over, and they were trying to make a CO2 cartridge bomb. So what they did is you would take a CO2 cartridge, you would stab the top of it, and you would let all CO2 out, and then you would just pack it full of like powder, right? So literally, I'm watching these two titans of intellect, my older brother and his friend. I'm watching these two geniuses hammer away at this, and I keep telling them, like, occasionally, I'm like, you're gonna blow yourselves up. This is stupid. You're gonna blow yourselves up. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So I'm like, all right, screw you guys. I'm gonna go local. I'm gonna go to the hobby shop, and I'm gonna play Dark Age. I brought my Dark Age stuff. So mid-match, I get a phone call on my. I get a panicked phone call on my Nokia, my little fucking brick Nokia phone. I pick it up and I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" And then he's panicking. He's screaming. He's like, "You gotta get home. You gotta get home. So and so just blew his foot off." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go home. I'm like, I told my friend, the guy that I'm having a match with, like, "Look, bro, I'm so sorry. I would love to continue this, but I got business, right?" So I'm leaving this Dark Age game out in about 30-minute drive from my house. So I get back home, and somehow they managed to flag down an ambulance, and they got taken to the hospital. My brother was fine, but his friend was not. He said, "Hey," as soon as I walked in, I got a phone call. It says, "Hey, are you home?" And I said, "Yeah, I just walked in the door. You see so-and-so shoe on the floor?" And I see one of these sneakers in this triangular hole in this sneaker. It almost looked like somebody took like an X-Acto knife and made like this perfect isosceles triangle in it. I'm like, it was covered in dried blood. And I'm like, yeah, what about it? It says, so-and-so blew his toe off. I want you to check to see if his toe is still on the shoe. So I pick up this shoe, I hold it to my head, and I kind of rattle it back and forth to see if there's anything in there. Thankfully, it was not in there, and some woodland critter got got a good meal that night, courtesy of my brother's friend's big toe. But yeah, that's my Dark Age story. Very tangentially related to Mech Warrior Dark Age, but for some reason, those two events, like me, I'm trying to sling some dice using my Banson's Raiders and I horse traded for the Band of Five because I really liked the Band of Five because I thought their scheme was really cool and they had the bloody handprint, the flag with the black handprint on it. Oh, it's so cool, so edgy. Such edge, much wow. I was listening to my favorite Linkin Park CD on the way to the hobby shop. It was fantastic. And for some reason, those two events, so forever, Duck Warrior Dark Age is linked in my brain to that particular event, which I think is funny. But so that's my Dark Age story. Anyways, last chapter here is let's see. So it's basically, and unironically, this is actually kind of a good chapter. Like I'm gonna like a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, right? Broken clock tells the right time twice a day, right? This is actually, hell yeah, Gavin. So this is actually really good because basically the Chiang Mai character who was kind of quote unquote deserted to the Falcons, she's basically like priming the pump for this guy. It's like, oh yeah, when I was working with the Lyrans, they said that they were gonna do this big attack and this, that, and the other thing, and because the Lyrans thought that the Falcons attacked the the Lyrans thought that the Falcons attacked them. So you have both sides thinking, one side going like, hey, we got attacked, we need to respond. And then you have the Falcons, you have Chiang Mai kind of whispering this poison in their ear going, hey, the Lyrans are going to attack you. The heat's coming. So Mech Warrior Coot is like, he's strategizing, and then so it kind of flips perspective back and forth between Coot and Hellgate, and it's actually a really interesting thing because both sides are trying to play like blind chess, right? So you move it. It's like you're playing blind chess, right? So it's actually really well done from that perspective. So don't anybody ever say I ignorantly hate on his stuff, because right here, this is the essence of BattleTech for me. Is you have that interplay between, two or more forces where you have two or more forces, and then they're saying, hey, okay, Force A, well, given the circumstances, we're going to do XYZ. And then you have Force 2, or the opponent or the antagonist of the book going, hey, we're going to do thing ZXY, right? So and then you have the opportunity as an author to put these two things head to head and to see how they actually work and to see who actually played a better game of blind chess. So I actually think this is actually probably the best writing in the book so far, where they actually talk about like, hey, okay, well, we've only got, the Falcons were like, well, we're in a walled city. We want to neutralize their lanes of advance. We want to, try to make sure that we're as, we're funneling as many of these as many of the mechs as we can into a certain kill box, because we only have about 5 mechs, 5 or 6 mechs, plus or minus Chiang Mai. And the Lyrans are like, well, the Falcons are in this walled city. We're going to deploy being dropship. We can't drop in the center of the city because the streets are too narrow, and that's going to cause a lot of civilian casualties. We can, strike from here, or we can fly over the city and kind of take a longer route around to avoid some of the heat that they have. So you have these two competing dynamics, and that's kind of where the chapter leaves off, where they're they ultimately determine like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go this way. And the Falcons have like basically shut down kind of the main artery via like road barricades by like improvised barricades. And, have left kind of the one of the main areas just open, wide open. So I'm kind of stunned. I'm almost at a loss for words because I actually thought this was actually an interesting chapter because it reads like old school BattleTech as opposed to the dreary interpersonal drama, the terrible mech fighting, the non-existent planning of the rest of the book. It's very interesting that he actually dialed in on the process on this particular chapter. So which is really unusual because usually he's not good at this. So far we've just seen Hank Mallory just like, hey, we got to come up with a plan, and then they don't come up with a plan and he just makes something up by the seat of his pants. And now we're actually seeing like, and you would think, so he's a colonel in the Kellhounds. He is not a bad soldier. You don't get to be that high up in the Kellhounds without actually being good, right? So the fact that he's been demonstrated so far in this book to be tactically inept and is only now starting to kind of evidence some form of guile and good taste and good tactics by saying, okay, well, we only have some mechs and some vehicles, so we can't challenge both of these. We can't square off against one without getting bit by the other, and vice versa. So what we're going to do is we're going to start playing them off against one another in a way to make sure that whoever's left is so sufficiently weakened, we can either negotiate them going off world, or in case of the Jade Falcons, we can just kill them. Because the Jade Falcons are they're kind of here to stay, right? So I think this book is actually finally starting to get interesting. It fucking sucks that it took, what chapter is this? It took 20 chapters for it to actually get interesting. But hey, it's something. I was really dreading reading any more of this book because I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking dog shit, bro. Like, how can you write something so consistently dreary and uninteresting, and nobody has any sense of tactics or good sense. But no, I think he got it right in this particularly this last chapter, the chapter where they were doing the false flag against the Lyrans and this fortified tower just exploded without explanation. I think that's bullshit, because I think what he's going to do is, after the Lyrans and the Falcons start beating on each other, you'll have a kind of I call it an admin chapter, where it talks about like the ghost dog, where Hank is everybody is patting themselves on the back. It's like, that flat tower was easy to infiltrate. We just disguised as like the fucking Candygram guy, and we said Candygram from Mongo, and we just dropped a fucking 500-pound bomb down in their mailroom. Like there's going to be some bullshit nonsense to where that will be explained, and I don't like that kind of writing, because I think there's some level of mystery that you can do with that I think is interesting, but where it's like, oh, this fortified tower, and the Steiner general, she's like, yeah, Steiner shit, yeah, represents the fist of Steiner, and then all of a sudden it's just blows up in a fireball, and she's like turbo pissed about this. I think that's a good way that gives an impact to that particular character, because that obviously made her super mad, right? And bad enough to go like, well, okay, the Jade Falcons want the heat, they're going to get the heat. So I think that's an interesting perspective to take on that. but again, you can't just say like, oh yeah, we infiltrated the thing. It's like, no, dude, this is basically here. This is what I'm picturing in my head. Let's see. Black Tower. Here we go. So I'm picturing, yeah. So I'm picturing this. So I'm picturing like a giant concrete structure with, oh, here we go. So I'm picturing like a giant concrete structure with like parapets and firing slits, and then on top of it, it's got artillery pieces, and then these secondary areas, you've got flak towers, like you've got flat guns. So like I'm picturing this in my head, and I'm like, one, how did they infiltrate it? Two, how did they deliver enough ordnance on site to actually blow something like that up? Because this is basically what I'm picturing based on the author's description in my head. And it's just like, bro, you can't just do that. You can't just make stuff. And that's kind of a bigger problem with his writing in general, with this book in general, is that you can't just write things because the plot needs them to happen. Like, there's so much interesting stuff that you can do with this like setup. So like, okay, so I'm a mercenary unit. I need to do a false flag to somehow make this place go up like a Roman candle to force action, force the Steiners to direct action the Falcons, right? Okay, how do we attack this? Well, we can't take a swipe at it because it's too heavily armed. It's got artillery. They would just murder us, right? Okay, cool. So what are the secondary options? Well, we have a bunch of infantry and hover vehicles. What are the odds that we can, basically drop off, ordnance at their front door and, detonate the magazine? What are the odds of that? I don't know. How many guys are we talking? So that would have actually been like an interesting setup chapter where like, hey, this is a thing that we have to do to force the Lyrans into direct action against the Falcons. So like, hey, resistance so-and-so, how many guys are here? When you know anything about the shifts, the rotations, what the guard level is? Nah, they're lazy. Nobody really takes it seriously since the Falcons haven't come out this far. They're just leaving us alone. Okay, fine. All right, let's go, dead of night. We'll, drop off a bunch of C4 in the magazine, the artillery cannon, and, assuming it's like a long tom or a thumper, that'd be a pretty nasty explosion. So, this whole chapter is being devoted to the logistics of mercenary company and getting used to a new planet, time, date. Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting, that whole dynamic of, the old school BattleTech books. They were really about like military, I can't call BattleTech hard sci-fi because it's not. There's a lot of the material science is just absolutely bullshit. So I would say it's more grounded military sci-fi, but it's not Warhammer 40K, right? But it's also not like Project Hail Mary, or it's not, Interstellar or anything like that, right? So it's called Day of Heroes, I want to say. It was one of the Grey Death books where, Grayson Death Carlisle, he had like a heart attack or stroke or something, and he couldn't drive a mech anymore. He was off planet, and his son basically got saddled with taking care of the Legion while they were on Glengarry, and then the Sky Separatists tried to take the planet over. And so what he hit on doing is shuttling his mechs on like a maglev, basically like a bullet train, and then talking about how they would basically disembark the train, run off, wreck a bunch of stuff, get back on the train, and then the mech techs had to actually repair the mechs in situ on those flatbed cars. And it's like, that's really interesting. And it talks about how's our ammo, how much armor plate do we have? What do our spare parts look like? How do we protect our areas from these separatists? How do we keep on the move to keep one step ahead of the bad guys? Because we are the smaller, we are the less superior force here. Punished Ink. I wonder if Brian Young's writing could be better or worse if he got his way and wrote for Shadowrun. He did write for Shadowrun, as far as I'm aware. Him and Russell Zimmerman both him and Russell Zimmerman both come from Shadowrun, I do believe. I know Russell Zimmerman definitely does, because he is. You can definitely tell in his writing, because his writing is very has a lot of themes about transhumanism and body modification and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, you're trying to cyberpunk my BattleTech. We tried to do that with the Word of Blake. We don't put cyberpunk in our BattleTech, right? So medium roast sci-fi. Yeah, exactly. It's the Pike's Place roast of sci-fi. Gets hurt in the follow-up book by near miss PPC and Day of Heroes. Okay, gotcha. And he's off becoming Duke, a Duke of the Glengarry. There we go. Yep. So that's what it was. So, and I think I'm going to take somebody's suggestion. I'm gonna dig up a copy of one of Blaine Pardoe's books, and actually read it for kind of contrast. Not as Land and Sea stuff, but something he wrote for BattleTech. Because those two, I remember his books, especially his Archer Christophori books, were exceptionally well written, with a high level of attention to detail about the military operations and the ins and outs of how that stuff works. So, and I think this is actually the most people I've had watching my stream so far. So I think we've topped. I saw somebody. It was like 15, 16 people. So this is really cool. I appreciate you guys coming in. If you guys have just joined, what I do every Thursday, I have been reading Ghosts of Timkovichi by Brian Young. I basically so story time. I had come across Brian Young saying, "Hey, I'm selling author-signed copies of my latest book." And I'm like, how funny would it be if I bought a copy of this and I read it on stream? Because I've been deliberately avoiding his books because he's not. I don't perceive that he's a very good writer. So, I put to my fans on my Facebook page, like, hey, if somebody fronts me the money, I will buy a copy of this book and I will read it on stream. So I have been doing that for the last few months, because some mad lad actually did that, and it's like, okay, accountability. I'm not just going to say take the money. I'm not just going to take the money and say thanks, fucko, and not use it for what I said I would. But yep. So I'm reading this, and it is equal parts funny and tragic. It's funny because of how poorly written it is in places, and it's tragic because this is the depths to which BattleTech fiction has fallen through. Rusty and Rim played Shadowrun together. Brian was somehow part of the group, and that's how Rim got hired. And CGL and Rusty recommended Brian to start writing. Yeah, no, Mookie Dog. That's what I've heard as well. That actually makes sense. Yeah, Gambit Raven. Actually, I would like to say that of my character, I have many flaws, but following through is not one of them. Not following through is not one of them. So, I've been having a great time with this. I've genuinely enjoyed the interaction with you guys, doing this every Thursday. Just the absurdity that I'm doing this for you guys makes me really happy. And I'm just having a great time doing it. So in a lot of ways, I have Brian Young to thank for this. But yeah, no, I'm just it's a good time, having a great time. So this has been kind of interesting. This week has been kind of crazy. Because I made the mistake So finally got to catch you live doing live cars to work on today. Hell yeah, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Obviously you guys like, share, subscribe, helps me with the algorithm, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it, So what you're saying is you could start reading some of his other novels. Don, don't no. No, no, no. Nope. don't push your luck. Oh yeah, dude. Salute Bellum, thank you for joining the stream. Appreciate it. Here for the trolls on the walls. Yeah. But yeah, I've been having a good time with it. This week has been hilarious. So I'm a big Halo fan, so we started off the week strong by making the Halo stands upsetty spaghetti, and that's been amusing to watch people just pull their hair and gnash their teeth. And then I found that image from Gen Con. Let's see if I can pull that back up. Somebody shared this on a Board Game Geek group, and it's they're empty boxes, but basically they use the product to put them the empty boxes. Basically they use the internal stuff to set up like demo tables and whatnot. So, but for some reason, just like the tableau of this picture, the housekeepers who are like, these gringos, they play with the miniatures, they play with the small mechs. I do not understand. And the fact that they're throwing this shit away in front of the big, and it's all BattleTech, 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 and it's the fact that it's under the big Catalyst banner just makes me laugh. For some reason, there's just something poetic about this image that just tickles me. Don wants a torture stream. Yeah, no, I'm, not one of those. What are they called? There's actually a name for them, where it's like they like streamers that like torture themselves for money. They're like, oh, $10 will stick bamboo shoots under my fucking fingernails. Those assholes. Running BattleTech in the style of Hammer Slammers, but with more of a GWOT over Vietnam vibe. That's actually not a bad idea. God, let's see if I can't find just a neutral image here. So, there's a book that's kind of like that. He was the guy that founded Paul Masters. Here we go. So, yeah, here we go. Prince of Havoc. Yeah, there we go. Ideal War. So this is kind of probably one of the books that you would want to look at if they were going to do that. Ideal War, which is basically that it's kind of a terror Vietnam vibe to it. Exceptionally well written book. Did not spare any details. This was raw. This shit was a raw book to read. So no idea why the Essential Box was a Target exclusive. Also, no books at Barnes and Nobles. I've wondered about that too, because I was actually in a Barnes and Noble the other day. I was in a Barnes and Noble the other day, and I was just kind of perusing the fiction, and it was all like, it was really depressing, actually. The sci-fi, it was all like I got isekai'd into the giant werewolf rape fantasy world, and it was written by female authors. It's like, oof, the state of genre fiction is bad, bro. Ideal War, yep. GWOT meets Nam, yeah. You also had a little bit of that in, I would say it was Mercenary Star, with Grey Death Legion. Mercenary Star novel, yeah. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so this is Mercenary Star. This was actually, again, this was also a very good book, but it was also very nom-coded, and I think that's because this came out in '95. So no, that's that kind of stuff doesn't run in my doesn't run in my line of interest, because it's like I don't want to read like Mother Goffel's pastrami mud flaps are magical, or whatever the fuck. Sci-fi and fantasy smut romance. It's bad, dude. Like there's like been next to nothing new that's been coming out. So there's actually a couple of really good videos on that very topic, Gambit, because what it turns out is that, the sense that, in the interests of equity, blah blah blah, they have been, rejecting more male authors and have been going mostly more female authors, or female centric authors, and yeah. Yeah, those Ideal War and Mercenary Star, both bangers. Decision at Thunder Wolf Riff reminds me of Do You Want Mountain to Surgifying? Yeah, there's actually a lot of really good BattleTech books. I think some of the best, personally, that focus on the isometric nature of some of these conflicts in BattleTech, and I think that's where you get really the stories of heroism and kind of daring do of these guys doing like okay, we got to do this high risk stupid shit because we're badly outnumbered, and if we don't force something to happen, if we don't take the initiative off of the invaders, then we're going to have a bad time. So yeah, those are generally the best. Hopefully I probably didn't spell. Yeah, no, I didn't spell that anywhere near right. Here we go. Bibliography. Yeah, the Call of Duty. This was actually a really good one. I believe this is the second in the sequence. Second book, yeah. My memory and autism are superior, but not that. Yeah, Measure of a Hero. This one was actually really good. It was less like guerrilla warfare and guerrilla tactics, and more of navigating a civil war in this particular setting. And I really love this book. I think this is probably one of his best that he's written for BattleTech. Who the fuck is this guy? Apparently he's Christopher Hartford. Who the fuck is this? Been a BattleTech writer for 35 years. Huh, I don't know. Let's see. War book ends with some guerrilla warfare. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other good books. I think we've already talked about them. Decision at Thunder Rift, Mercenary Star, Ideal War, Day of Heroes, Call of Duty, less so, if my memory holds. Also, what's it called? Yeah, it's called Double Blind. It's not. It doesn't. It's Double Blind is actually a really good book for introducing people to the periphery and the madness therein. It's also, ironically, this was written by Lauren Coleman, and I thought this was a great book. He can write a book, but he can't manage a fucking company, which is deeply ironic. Yeah, Double Blind's good. There's just absolutely nothing wrong with this book. The Archer's the Archer's Angels. What are they called? What are they called? Avanti's Angels. That's what they were called. Yeah. It was good. It was a great book. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of great wild stuff in it. It had horses attacking mechs and shit like that. It was pretty cool. 80s and 90s military sci-fi was a lot of Vietnam's work through the war. David Drake talked about it extensively. So that actually kind of brings us back to, I think, the main issue that I have currently with the direction of Battletech genre fiction in general goes towards, which is the fact that Battletech currently has a lack of people with practical life experience. You look at previous Battletech authors, guys like Michael Stackpole, stuff like that. They have, they're old enough to have had people touched by the Vietnam War. They are old enough to have had, to have struggled and, experienced loss and personal issues and stuff like that. So they have the breadth and depth of experience to write intelligently and respectfully and well about those subjects. I think the worst thing that Brian Young has ever had happen to him is probably his mom took away his PS5. Like, you look at his biography, he wrote for Huffington Post, which means he has basically zero practical life skills or experience, and so far as being like somebody that has experienced hardship, as opposed to most Battletech authors, a good example is Blaine Pardoe, actually, who's doing his own thing, Land and Sea, which I highly recommend that series. That he's just dropping banger after banger after banger. His Land and Sea series. He's a historian and he's a true crime author, and he does a lot with his books, and you can see that bleed through, especially I believe he's specifically a Civil War historian, and that's why I think he wrote the Archer's Avengers, the Archer Christophany books, why I think those hit so well. Shield of Sparrows is Princess Bride crossed with The Witcher. I'm going to say something controversial, but I tried to get into The Witcher, just couldn't do it. I tried to read the first book. A friend gave it to me as a download a long time ago, and I got about 2 chapters in. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't. This is boring. It's like it didn't jump out and grab me sufficiently quickly. I've been shot out. Does that count? Yeah, no, I would say so. And that's why I think why we don't have like a lot of good. I've heard The Expanse is exceptional. There's also going to be a role-playing game for The Expanse coming out. I don't know if it's came out or if it's coming out. And they're also going to be like plastic Expanse crew miniatures coming out. I don't know what the timeline for that is. That was going to be made by a company called War Games Atlantic. But yeah, I think the main issue with Battletech authors currently is a lot of them have no practical idea of struggle, loss, war, violence, history. Everybody is kind of in their own everybody's in kind of their own like personal bubble, where if concepts and ideas they see don't match their worldview, they reject them entirely, as opposed to being able to kind of rotate the apple, right? So like picture an apple in your head, and then like you can kind of rotate it in your head. You can look at all different aspects of the apple. They are unable to rotate the apple of other people's ideas. And I think it shows in their work, and I think it shows on their I think it shows in the quality of writing, and I think it shows in the current trajectory that BattleTech is going. Like 10 layers, tangents of deep. No, oh yeah, no, this is that's what happens. These chapters were just kind of like do nothing, like who gives a shit chapters, and it's like it's ironic that these are it's ironic that these chapters are like so passable. I have nothing to really riff on them on. Oh, they are. Alcat Games is actually making an RPG for the Expanse. Written experience reminded me of what writers like Hemingway used to say about writing back in the day. And Barnes and Noble. So the terminus of the Barnes and Noble story is that I saw plenty of Lance packs on the shelves, very deeply discounted, might I add. But I didn't see any BattleTech books. I didn't see anything that like. I saw no BattleTech books, and the story I told yesterday is my mom actually used to work for Borders Books and Music. So that's actually how I got most of my BattleTech books. Is once a month they would have a employee discount day where basically you would buy stuff at cost. So I would get like 3 or 4 of the Rock published, BattleTech novels, and I would like, here, mommy, here my books, and she's like, oh, okay, and I would just crush them, these 350-page, paperbacks. I would just crush them in under a week each. That's I actually give BattleTech a lot of credit for the depth and breadth of my vocabulary as an adult and into early adulthood. Children born under war and children born under peace have different views of morality. Bro, fucking real. True and fucking real. So lived experience I think is important when writing. And I think, especially with millennial writers, they write about things that give them comfort, not things that give them discomfort. And you can see that specifically with the tropes about, the very Joss Whedon-esque writing about, like, they're constantly writing about food, they're talking about coffee, any exposition dump happens over, well, even this last chapter, the General Hellgate, we learned a lot about her personality and how, like, oh, I wish these horrible falcons would just fuck off the planet. She was just very put upon and whatnot. Meanwhile, she's stuffing her face with all this fine food, and so you're getting this really ham-fisted, like just punching the reader in the mouth, like, this person is decadent, this person is evil, this person is this. It's instead of hinting at their character by their actions. Instead, the book is saying this person is evil. This person is a gross social leader in general. You should dislike this person. So the author takes out any ability for the audience to think for themselves. All in all, is learn a print on demand from Amazon. You'd think they just have the core rulebooks and source rulebooks on shelves next to them. You would think. I've never watched One Piece, actually. I've not watched the anime, not picked up the manga, unfortunately. Like, I just don't have that much time to invest into it, I believe. But let's see. But yeah, so it's just kind of an interesting contrast with the way that BattleTech books were written with the way that BattleTech books are written now. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the authors lacking that depth of life experience and not being able to rotate difficult concepts in their head and examine them from different angles without, like, if they, like, I'm pretty sure, like, and I've had this interaction with, like, Russell Zimmerman on my Facebook page. He's unable to perceive other people's viewpoints without immediately rejecting it as wrong. Like, he can't stop, look at a viewpoint, think, okay, maybe this has some merit. Why is this a pressure point for this individual? Let me try to look at it from their perspective. Instead, they just assume, oh, they don't think like me, so they're wrong. So, and I think that's the core issue with a lot of these BattleTech writers lately. Although strangely, Michael Sierravella, he's written some really good shit. Trial of Birthright. I read that book. I could not put that shit down. That was a fantastic book. You know why? Because it was written like old school BattleTech. Because there was a lot of cloak and dagger. There was a lot of good political aspects. There was a lot of good mech fights, and the politicking and the interpersonal interactions, interplay. All that was like top notch. Same thing with Jason Schmetzer. He wrote the most recent Wolf's Dragoons novels that take place in the Ill Clan, Republic era. Those were, again, really exceptionally well written books. So if you're looking for good BattleTech recommendations of a more latest vintage of BattleTech, Jason Schmetzer and Michael Sierravella, specifically Trial of Birthright for Michael. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird that I didn't have that much bad to say about the book tonight. It makes me uncomfortable. I think I'm gonna leave it there, guys. We've got 17 people viewing. That's amazing. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys dropping in, listening to me just yap for a little bit. Back at it next Wednesday. Next Thursday. Next Wednesday, we'll probably do a post-mortem on all the Gen Con announcements. Apparently, Catalyst is supposed to announce something to do with BattleTech this Gen Con as well. So I'm kind of interested, to see what that is. If you guys like this, had fun with this, it was not a complete waste of your time. It's kind of menstrual rules. I've got a Stream Elements. You can donate to me through there. I've got a Ko-Fi. You can donate to me through there. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch me, and it really means a lot. So I want to thank you guys very much for everybody showing up. You guys have a great night.